I'm getting so damn tired on how big and mighty monsters have to be. I think it's time to focus on the small fries for once.
I wanna fly high, so I can reach the highest of all the heavens. Somebody will be waiting for me, so I've got to fly higher.
Hey guys, this is the Ecron Writer here, and let me just say that we should stand up for the smaller guys. I always tend to stand up for the underdog, and this time's no exception. They always say that bigger is always better, and they can be almighty, scary, and powerful. But it's just as the old adage goes, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. Sometimes I hope it'll happen to corporations, and especially social demigods. So let's take a detour to the road less traveled and check out the top 12 petites in video games. Yes, I'm not deceiving you. I decided to make a top 12 because I wanted to go 2 steps higher. Same rules apply, only from games I played, 1 per franchise, and they must be tiny. Big things do come in small packages after all. Alright, let's get this started.
You'll regret this, you little pests!
Hot one! Hot two!
I'll get you!
Starting off this top 12 are the Jinjos, from Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. The Jinjos are technically hybrids of teddy bears and anthropomorphic birds. The funny thing is, though, they don't have wings. However, they can still fly with their mystic abilities. They usually function as collectibles, much like the musical notes, as there are usually 5 Jingos with distinctive colors in each level. Each one Banjo and Kazooie collect, they circle around them and make their signature coup. Even when all of them happen to be found, rewarding them with a Jiggy. Heck, these critters can even breathe underwater and thrive in harsh environments. 5 are found in each level in Banjo-Tooie, but I never wanted to play it all that much, hence taking the top spot. It's revealed they live in a village and were separated by Gruntilda as punishment for aiding her nemesis, and are ruled by King Dingling. They also happen to have doppelgangers known as Minjos. The best part was how they aided the heroes against Gruntilda. Man, these guys can pack a punch, thus taking the top spot.
I'll get you!
Nobody ever talks about them. I'm saying about the Lemmings. You know, The many small green-haired rodents that walk around and do a lot of cool stuff in their own action puzzle game series? Anyway, the Lemmings or the Highland Lemmings are small, mighty, and versatile creatures that come in large stampedes, pushing through so many obstacles in their way. These are very versatile as they don't really function like the regular rodents, but more like humans, such as building in bridges, performing well as a team, establishing their own civilization like the city of Lemmingsburg, as well as 12 tribes, using paracells, and even, suicide bombs. You don't always have to think big in order to be powerful, and these guys are a common example. They're low on the list as I'm not a huge fan, and I'd only played one game, but 2 versions for the SNES and Genesis respectively, though I'd like the latter the best. Plus they can be pretty tough to handle, especially with tumultuous levels. And they're not always very bright. Still, if handled properly by pro players, these brave rodents can be unstoppable, no matter what throws in their way.
I'll get you!
While the first 2 are high on the list due to inexperience, Silver Rat I consider, let's say, subpar. The Silver Rat from the F-Zero series is without doubt one of the least favorite machines in the series. In fact, it's considered as one of the worst. Much like the past 3 entries, I only encountered this in one game. The Silver Rat is piloted by a tween named Daigoro, who happens to be Samurai Goro's own son. I'm disappointed that they never labeled Lisa Brilliant as his own mom, since she's Goro's wife. Anyway, the rat may be swift and has a high boost stat, but what makes it lack is because of not keeping its full acceleration and severely lacks in grip and durability. I'm even flabbergasted that a kid is anointed as an F-Zero pilot and a gifted samurai.
Hey, what are you doing?
Children aren't allowed to drive. It's illegal and extremely dangerous.
Ever since I first unlocked it after beating Black Shadow's trap in all difficulties, I thought it'd at least have some potential. While it is considered the worst machine, I don't necessarily hate it. I feel if it's tweaked more properly, aside from its stats spelling out Dad, it may stand a better chance on the racing scene. Besides, Daigoro does need a little love once in a while. At least make it as a quick runner for the time trials and practice races.
I'll get you!
Whew! Now we're getting to some of the good stuff. I consider Goten for the list since he's usually the tiniest of all the Z fighters. Even more smaller and nimbler than young Goku or Gohan. Goten is of course Gohan's kid brother, and is Goku's and Chi-Chi's second son, and considered as Goku's chibi. He's cute, small, light on his feet, and has excellent speed and agility. Goten does happen to have attacks that are swift, but a bit on the weak side, both offensively and defensively, which is expected for any sweeper in fighting games. He does make up for it since he has a special move in which he fuses with Trunks and becomes the immensely powerful Saiyan, Gotenks. It is said in the anime that he was the quickest and the youngest Saiyan that could transform into a Super Saiyan at will, no matter since he was under Chi-Chi's aggressive tutelage. Not to mention, he's mostly voiced by Kara Edwards, best known for voicing Goten and Videl in the Funimation dubs. I'd also consider her as a voice for Goten in my Bouncer tetralogy as well. Due to inexperience, he still remains low on the list, as I never found Budokai 2's board game style to be enjoyable. At least he happens to be better in the battles, even in Budokai 3. I still miss his innocence and style once he grew up. Goten's also one of the Saiyan kids not seen with their signature monkey tail, hence never turning into the Great Ape Buzaru. And honestly, thank goodness. Despite him being an underrated clone and spitting image of his dad, and since he's nearly as fragile as the Silver Rat, he does have potential to make himself better both in the anime and in the games. Never underestimate on what a kid can do.
I'll get you!
Ah, Petey the puppy, the troublesome canine from Earthworm Jim. Ever since his debut in the infamous escort mission For Pete's Sake, he has been scorned by so many consumers, myself included. This hapless, carefree doggy joyfully prances to his home unaware of the many dangers in his path, relying on Earthworm Jim a little too much, and having the durability of a paper cup. Seriously, one hit or pitfall, he transforms into this monstrous, mutated mutt, and mauls Jim for failing to protect him. Why he's only 8 is because of his aggressive, defenseless behavior, but he wasn't always this shameful. At least in the animated series, he's a lot more tolerable to endure, as Jim's own more acceptable sidekick. Hell, Pete isn't always a spoiled brat, and he sometimes has moments where he protects Jim by transforming into his wild form. If only he'd managed his psychotic persona and isn't much of a dude in distress, then he would have taken a higher ranking. Still, I see potential in this pooch, as a little though reliable midget. So, he barely qualifies at the 8th entry.
I'll get you!
Now we're hitting the jackpot. At lucky number 7, we have one of the most obscure petites on the list, Little Samson. Named after the NES game he stars in, he, also known as Lickle, is a very unique though reliable midget. He's the human character in the Tetra cast to thwart the evil prince, and unlike most of these aforementioned characters, he doesn't seem to sacrifice speed for strength. Actually, he seems to be balanced and is good for beginners, as he's the first selectable character, much like the Blue Falcon in F-Zero. He's very user-friendly, and he happens to also be versatile, much like the Lemmings. He has this unique weapon as he throws bells at his enemies. Yeah, bells. A very unusual projectile. In addition, he can climb walls and ceilings with ease, reaching places most of the heroes can't reach. At least he's not as unreliable and puny, much like that rat KO. Little Samson and the game itself is a Taito classic that should be considered more. If only the release time wasn't during the SNES lifespan. Out of all the characters, Little Samson is one of the most explicit petites and characters of the game. Sometimes I'd even consider him as the leader of the bunch. He's well-rounded, easy to use and master, and he takes the 7th spot in this underappreciated roster.
Get you!
Speaking of being undervalued, ever remember Navi from Ocarina of Time? Yeah, I know you do. And don't lie to me. You always bash her of all the repetitive one-liners and how she's a very pesky partner to Link, even if she is the very first. Believe me, Tattle and Fifi are far worse than she can ever be, even though some fans literally abuse the hell out of it. Regardless, I don't consider Navi to be any of that. Just like how Jiminy Cricket is to Pinocchio, or to be more precise, how Tinkerbell was to Peter Pan. I find Navi to be a valuable, reliable, and may I say the best partner Link has ever had. The Great Deku Tree assigned her to assist the boy without a fairy as evil was covering the forest, and left it cursed. Navi was useful utilizing Z-targeting and knowing an enemy's weak spot while finding out secrets. Not to mention breaking the fourth wall and reminding the hero and the player on certain objectives. Sure, Navi can be relatively annoying in that regard, but honestly, I never found her to be as such, even lesser than Kebra Gebra. She doesn't seem to tantalize or preach the player that much, and in case you don't believe me, check her out in Ocarina of Time's fandub for its 20th anniversary. Besides, Link wouldn't have gotten this far as the hero of time if Navi wasn't there for him, right? She's almost like part of the Fruitian trio in my Lost Pokémon crossovers. Kind of like being the Spock, as she has unfathomable wisdom. And I never liked the idea of her dying in the events of Majora's Mask, since she fulfilled her purpose. Hence she was only in one game, and my favorite. It's so strange her name existed before the Navi from Avatar. Like I said, I consider Navi as Link's best partner in the Juggernaut, as I find others to be more preachy and infantile than she is. And it just comes to show from her usefulness. Petites don't always have to be good offensively and defensively to be the best.
I'll get you!
Toad is the most uncredited character and Petite in the Mario series. Ever since Alex Rochon labeled him as one of his hated characters, and how he never shuts up and how pesky he is, it just irritates me. Sure, he may jump low and be vertically challenged. I'd say, just stick with a Luigi or Peach if you're having such a damn problem. Besides, it's unfair how people are judged by their difficulties of being vertically challenged. Toad does have some redeemable factors. With petiteness comes speed, and he happens to be the lightest and fastest seed picker, digger, and cart driver, especially in Mario 2 and Mario Kart. After all, Oscar commented him being enjoyable to use in the kart series in tennis. Toad happens to be cute wearing that mushroom hat of his, and I find his voice to be hilarious at times.
Woo! Here we go! Yeah! Okay! Ow, whoa, 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 whoa! Ah! Yahoo! I'm the best!
Looks don't deceive me here. Heck, I never found him to be that bad in the Mario cartoons much. At least he tries to be funny. It's just that the writing is bad. Toad makes a good decoy, and I'm sure even speedrunners would appreciate him in various games. While he isn't playable in 64, much like Navi, he does tend to be helpful and even offers Mario and other heroes stars occasionally. Even when he collects star bits while aboard the Starship Mario and functions as a star bank. He does prove himself to be a puzzle solver when he starred in his own series, Captain Toad. Come on, he's not that awful. Even when he keeps saying the princess is in another castle. Otherwise, the original game would be too easy and short, right? No need to worry since you can virtually save in All-Stars, or just use cheat codes to jump to the end. So, what was the problem again? As I'd said, he's one of my mains in Mario Kart next to the Koopa Troopa. Light, nimble, and entertaining. I always found so much hate for Toad, and that's just despicable. I know Toad is better than those haters say. But hey, haters are always gonna hate anyway, as he takes the spot of one of my favorite petites at number 5.
I'll get you!
Diddy Kong is one of my all-time favorite characters in the Donkey Kong franchise. I love playing as him since the original installment. Love his debut as Donkey's own nephew, and he's a joy to play as, much like my favorite animal buddy, Rambi. Diddy is cute no matter what, and his speed can't be beat. It's no wonder they labeled him as small but quick, and he definitely delivers. When it comes to platforming, I'll always consider the smaller guys as they're easy to control, they're awesome, and they just provide better versatility and mileage. No better than Tails. Plus, it makes the animals he rides on all the more competent and flexible, instead of being sluggish like Donkey. I don't hate the cool-tide baboon, I just became infatuated with Diddy the second I saw him. Heck, no matter who I play as in Diddy's Conquest, both Diddy and Dixie have that same kind of immersiveness. It was disappointing when it was cut out in Donkey Kong Country 3 and regressed back with a tank kitty. Hadn't played much of Donkey Kong 64, though just like Toad, he makes us one of the most excellent platformers and racers. Especially in Diddy Kong Racing next to Tip Top and Timber. I was glad he became the star of his own game. Wish it'd become a series, though. In Brawl, he does need some kinks worked out, even while he uses his barrel rockets. I'd always go bananas over Diddy, even with his awesome promotional work, as he shoots his way to numeral 4 of one of the most famous petites out there.
Get you!
Flebaby is one of the fairy types that debuted in Generation 6, as well as one of the few female-only species. She's not only one of the most cutest inhabitants of Kalos, but also the tiniest Pokémon on record, with a height of 0.04 inches and a weight of 0.2 pounds. No other Pokémon species has been more smaller and lighter than she is. With a base stat total of 303 and a high special attack and special defense, it's not too shabby. Fire and flying types are little problem to her, as well as those overpowering dragon and even dark types. She better stay away from the lethal poison and hard-hitting steel, though. Flebaby was just so irresistible, whether it be in X and Y, or even her portrayal in the anime. And she happens to have multiple flower colors such as white, blue, orange, yellow, and mainly red. And it's said that she's inseparable with one and controls power through it. It's no question a combo of flower and baby, and she happens to be the original fairy type of Gen 6. Flebaby is adorable, and even when she evolves, she still happens to be a useful, magnificent Pokémon. I used to think fairy types are often frail and too cutesy for my taste, but not this one. I find her to be one of the most tolerable fairy types ever, thus she takes the spot at number 3.
Get you!
Coincidentally taking the second spot we have the fraternal twins of Final Fantasy IV, Palom and Porum. Much like most of the Petites, these two were amazing and versatile, and they just happen to be children, yet their stats can't be beat. While wielding the black and white arts respectively, I'd say they can even surpass those frail old-timers, such as Tella and Fasoya despite their age. They happen to be orphan children from the city of mages, Dissidia, and the Elder has raised them as their guardian and tutor. The brash boy Palom and the graceful girl Porum first appeared during Cecil's adventure as the Elder volunteered to bring them with him as he climbs Mount Ordeals. They function as assistants and also spies to monitor Cecil from committing any more violent crimes after stealing the water crystal. Both twins want to be as skilled as the old mage Tella and learn all kinds of spells. Palom and Porum are awesome! Their moves don't take so slow to charge, and they aren't fragile like most spellcasters. And they can even conjure some of their own twin attacks, such as Comet and even Flare. That is something I wish the series should highlight more often. Sadly, they got involved in a very tragic death.
Palom! Porum!
Cecil! We'll miss you! It was almost like we gained an older brother.
What's gotten into you two?
We won't let you all die like this! Tella, look after Cecil for us! Together! Now! Right!
Palom. Porum.
Luckily, they've somehow been revived by the Elder after giving them prayers. Little ambiguous, but I was glad to see those two again. Plus, you have another chance to play as them in the advanced version, and they drop nice augments such as Twincast and Omnicast in the DS version. I, however, wasn't thrilled when they split up in the after years. Overall, Palom and Porum are prodigies in their own right, and while they're together, they can clearly show what Petites can truly do, and can take out any big bad that stands before them.
That was awesome!
I'll get you! I hate those!
Dead chugs.
I'll take those.
No!
Number 1 is one of the most smallest and the most versatile Petites in all of gaming, even when it comes to PC and console games. I can say these guys can even rival those from Team Fortress 2, as they're tiny, mighty, versatile, and sometimes hysterical. Introducing the deadly, the trigger-happy Worms! Much like the Lemmings, the Worms are handy Petites that also seem recognizable. They were developed by Team 17 and made debuts in a variety of systems, such as the PC, Sega Genesis, SNES, and even PlayStation. Much like Lemmings and Team Fortress, they're well known for their tactical artillery, as well as their slapstick humor. Players can either be in single or multiplayer, mostly as a turn-based strategy game to eradicate the other team on a deformed landscape. While they're usually 2D or 3D, my first games revolved around the 2D PC games, such as Worms Armageddon and Worms World Party. Hadn't really played the other ports, but it was addictive fun. You play up to 8 worms on each team, whether it be controlled by the computer or another player, and each worm is shifted randomly. This series is well known for its customization and action. There are plenty of options to choose from, such as how many weapons used, time limits, even some sudden death options. Each weapon is more devastating than the last, such as sheep and skunk bombs, bazookas, grenades for sneak attacks, guns, martial arts, ropes, sending reinforcements, paracells, even suicide bombs. Yeah, they're there too. Even status ailments. One of the most awesome things is how a team is pre-made. Each one has their own style, such as their names, voices, and even nationalities. Worm's World Party expanded that, having different languages, dialect, and even their own theme songs. Hell, they can even talk like robots if they wanted to. It never gets old hearing the hysterical lines. Not to mention there is online gameplay in a variety of modes such as training, deathmatch, and the usual single and multiplayer campaigns. Even customizing your own maps to make your own battlefields. With such an awesome series, a cult following, tons of options and classes to choose from, as well as various customization options, the worms are the most versatile, smallest, and the most dominant petites in gaming history. It's no wonder they'd won so many awards and mentioned in gaming lists. Why can't the people I know mention them? I'm the Ecron writer. Forget Earthworm Jim. Forget Call of Duty. Forget Fortnite. And even forget Team Fortress. This is the series that defines and refines fun wartime and competitive epicness. The worms shall forever be my main petites, as well as their games as the milestone for any first or third-person shooter. The big guys shall be obliterated!